Alright everyone, welcome to a new tutorial. In this one we'll be creating the seamless match cut. Alright, and as always, if you like to follow along, the link is in the description so you can download it and let's do it. Right, first thing we're going to do is stabilize the motion. Right, so we'll go to the tracker window and we'll hit stabilize motion. Right, and then we'll select the position, the rotation, and the scale. So we have 2 track points. Right, let's make sure we're on full resolution. Okay, now we'll go back and we'll put the track points on the area we'd like to stabilize, and in this case it's the rim. Right, so let's put it there and then we'll track forward. Right, when we're tracking forward, let's ensure that the tracker points stay on the areas we want it to stay on. So we'll stop it, adjust them manually, and we'll hit analyze forward once again. Right, seems to be okay. Let's go, and that's it. Right, now once it's finished, we'll hit apply, okay, and there we go. Right, and it's tracking. Let's do a quick render and see how it looks. Alright, now we'll finish rendering and it's done its job and it's stabilized by the wheel and the wheel is sticking. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to adjust the scale. So we'll hit S on our keyboard and we're going to highlight these keyframes and we're going to bring them to about 200. Right, and now we see we have a problem here. We see that the footage is getting cut off. So how to fix that? We'll duplicate our footage, Control D on the keyboard, and we'll go to the effects window and we'll type motion tile. If we're not seeing the effects window, just go to window up here and you see the effects and presets. Right, so we'll choose motion tile and we'll add it to the duplicated layer. The first thing we're going to adjust the height, the output height. Right, and then we're going to scrub, and here we're going to adjust the width. If we see that this is being duplicated, what you can do, we can adjust the scale on this. So we'll highlight all the keyframes once again and let's bring it to about 210. Let's bring it up some more to about 237, and that works. So the key here is that when you're shooting your footage or whatever footage, because I got this footage from pexels.com, you can check out that site for stock footages. So when you have your footage, just make sure it's a high resolution footage so you can scale up without any degrading of the footage. So the next thing that we're going to do now, right, let's rename this to motion tile. Right, so the next thing that we're going to do now, we're going to bring in our first image, which I'll be using the orange. You can use whatever footage you like, but I'm going to start with the orange. So we drag it over here and we're going to have to scale it down. So we hit S and we scale it. Let's also hit T on our keyboard to bring up the opacity so we can see what we're doing. Right, so we're going to match one of the oranges to the wheel. Right, we'll go back to scale. Let's bring it up and let's adjust it. Right, let's check it. Okay, so we're going to mask it. So we go up to the tools, we hold the ellipse and we select the ellipse tool. Right, so let's start drawing our mask. Right, one tip that I could give you guys when you're doing the mask, to make your life easier, you can just go here, hit M on the keyboard, go here, and you can hit you can choose none, and you can see what we'll be working with, right? So let's adjust. Let's zoom in and let's adjust. Right, and this looks good. Let's hit add and let's adjust the opacity back to 100, and that looks good. Can do this a little bit more to cover the entire rim, and that looks good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to see where we'd like the effect to start. So maybe about here. Let's go some more, maybe about here, and we'll hold shift on our keyboard, press R, press P, and press S. So that will bring up the position, scale, and rotation. So we'll keyframe them, and we'll move to a point in the footage where we like the effect to end, and we'll adjust the rotation. Let's adjust it to about 250. If we're seeing where we're adjusting it and the footage is moving off, what happened is that we didn't adjust the anchor point, right? So let's undo that. Let's go up to the tools, hold Control on our keyboard, and double click the pan behind tool to center the anchor point, right? So let's do that again. We're going to position, scale, rotate, move to a point, and let's adjust the rotation now, and we'll see it spinning. So let's do it to about 250 as before, and let's see how that looks. Right, so we can cut it right here. Let's adjust it, and let's do a quick render and see how that looks. That's a bit too fast. Let's make it a bit longer. Bring the keyframe down. Okay, that's not bad. Let's look at it again. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to bring in the next one, which is the coffee one, the coffee image, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we select it, scale it down, we bring down the opacity, and we adjust it. Right, let's scale it up a bit to about 25. Oh, that's too much. Let's bring it down to about 18. That looks good. And then we're going to mask. So we hit the ellipse tool, mask, change it to none, and let's adjust. All right, that looks good. Let's hit add. The kind of videos that I make, I like to show you guys everything, show you all the adjustments, the mistakes, you know, step by step, a real true tutorial. I mean, it may seem that I'm going a bit slower, the tutorial is long, but I personally, when I started, I really loved these tutorials. I loved like seeing these in-depth tutorials, and I realized that there's not a lot of them anymore. It's more like quick ones, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I think you guys would like it, so I'm trying to do it for you guys, right? All right, so we're going to bring back the opacity, so that's T on the keyboard, and just bring it up back, and the same thing again. We hold shift, press R, press P, press S. Remember to center the anchor point, double click the pan behind tool while holding Control. Right, keyframe, the rotation, scale, and position. Bring it to a point, and we rotate it. Let's go a bit more this time. Let's go to about 300. Right. Here we see that the image is coming off, so let's adjust it. and a keyframe for the position was created. Right, so let's cut it at where we want the image to end, so we can Control Shift D, cut it, and let's delete that. Don't forget to save, Control S. Let's bring it down a little longer, and let's do a quick render. Nice, that looks good. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the final one, and I'm going to speed it up. Right, I don't want you guys to get bored, so I'm going to speed it up and I'll be right back. Alright, so we're finished with the final one, and this is what it looks like. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do the final match cut. But for this one, it's not a JPEG, it's going to be a video, right? So we're going to find the street sign footage, and we're going to bring it in, right? And we're going to scrub to when it's at its furthest. So about here it looks good. And the reason why we're doing this is because we need enough footage to zoom in and to scale in and position it in the right way, where we don't cut off the image, right? So when we're filming, we need to film a wide angle and have as always a high resolution, right? So let's bring it in, and we're going to, as usual, adjust the opacity. And we're going to adjust the scale, right? Let's bring it back here, right? So this looks good, and we'll bring back the opacity. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to duplicate this, Control D. We'll bring this down, and we'll freeze frame this one, right? So right click, time, and freeze frame. So now we have the image that we'll be working with, right? So as always, we're going to mask it out. Select the ellipse tool, bring in your mask, M on your keyboard, and let's hit none. And we're going to adjust it and get the shape. Right, just like this. Double click. All right, let's select add. Right, then we're going to center our anchor point. So we go up here again. Right, pan behind tool, hold Control, double click it. Right, hit V on our keyboard to reselect the select tool. Right, then we're going to do the animation, but before we do the animation, we need to make sure that the match cut is how we need it. So let's go up to the layer that we're going to end at. We're going to bring it in, and we're going to lower the opacity, so we know that we can know where we're going to end this animation, right? So we go back to the start of our animation, right? And we enable the keyframes for position, rotation, and scale. And we go all the way to the end, right? And let's animate the rotation. And we end it on the arrow, the same direction that the arrow is pointing. Bring back the opacity, and we can bring it back down, right? And that is it. So let's look at it. There we go. Right, now the last thing that we would do is enable motion blur on all the layers. So let's enable it on all the layers that are rotating, right? So let's enable it on the street sign, the clock, the coffee, the orange, and the car, or they're already enabled. All right, so let's look at it. There we go. Now what we learned the stabilized motion, we learned masking, and we learned the importance of the anchor point when doing a match cut, right? So every time we do a new effect, we learn something new or we get better at it. So these are the tools that we needed to get this one done. Now the key is you can recreate this exact effect, but the key is to learn the tools that we need, and once we learn that, we use our own creativity to go and create our own work. As always, comment below, tell me what you liked and what you didn't like. Your limitation is only your imagination.